first of all, thank you for asking the questions. I got some in private messages, I got some in comments, and I just really wanted to answer the specific questions y'all had. I didn't want to just like do our own training and say what we wanted to say. I wanted to answer what y'all wanted to hear. So I do think this is going to be very valuable. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about events, because we have World Tour coming up and it just opened. Registration just opened, and I don't know the cutoff for registration. If somebody knows, you can let us know, but it should be in the news tab. We always register the first day it drops. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm in, we're going. Of course, it's no brainer for us. But this is the first in-person event we've had since, I guess, World Tour of 2020. So it would have been February of 2020, and that seems like it's been a century ago. But it's the first in-person event, and in-person events, I cannot stress enough how important they are. Okay, so cutoff for registration is December 31st. Good deal. That gives you plenty of time. It's like $53 for registration. So there's also a virtual option if you absolutely can't go, but they are going to so many locations, so there should be one pretty close to you. We will be in Knoxville. A lot of our group will be in Knoxville, but there's going to be people all over. And like I said, in person is so important. Not only are you getting like free product and you're getting to see the products early and all that, that is not even the most important part of it. That's awesome. Yes, it's fun, it's great, but the most important part is, first of all, the training, but the community and like experiencing the culture and meeting your team members and meeting other people, not just the people on your team, but the people in Scentsy, people like you that are doing the same thing as you, people from all walks of life that are so different, but yet we're all doing the same thing. We all have this one thing in common, and you never know who you might meet. You might meet one of your future best friends. You never know. So that is the most important part of going, and I know it's scary for a lot of you. It's terrifying to go be around people that you don't know, but I promise you, you will be welcomed with open arms. You will feel at home. You will be so excited. It's the best. The atmosphere is great, and it truly can be life-changing for you and business-changing. And if you go, you need to be willing to take all the notes, you need to be willing to learn, you need to be open-minded, and you need to be willing to go home and put those things into action. Because if you spend the time and money to go, which by the way, it's a tax write-off, all of the expenses to go is a tax write-off, but if you spend the time and money to go, you need to be willing to go home and put those things into action, because if not, you've just wasted your time. You can go and learn all the things and be so motivated when you're there, but then if you go home and you don't do anything with that, your motivation is going to be gone. And it literally is your time wasted. So do you have anything to say about your first event? What was your first event? SFR in Nashville. Nashville, yes. Remember the keynotes. So we're not going to have keynotes at these because it's World Tour, not Reunion. So Reunion is like a way bigger event. The CEOs are there. They have their keynote speeches. A lot of you had a virtual SFR this past year, and it was the same. But World Tour is a much smaller scale of SFR, but it's still so good because you get to hear from other consultants. They train you, all the things, but there's no keynotes, but you will get to meet people from home office as well. There will be home office people there. But if you can bring your spouse, it's great. They may be bored, they may not. I think enjoys going for the most part. He goes to every event. And I think it's important if you can get them there for the extra support, for the just them experiencing what the company is like and seeing what you do, because most spouses have no clue what you do or what your job is about, or they don't see your team members that you're interacting with on a daily basis, like that kind of stuff. But do you have anything to share about your first experience? Or any experiences, not just your first, but like, why do you feel like it's important for them to go, or their spouse? Or
I mean, you hit on most of it. It's just like, it gives you, I don't know, the keynotes and stuff go beyond Scentsy. It's not just a Scentsy event necessarily. Like, I took stuff away from it personally, and took it to my business and everything when we went. I don't remember exactly what was going on in Nashville, but I do remember that the stuff that was said helped me make a decision in where I was at in life. So I thought I was going to be bored. I thought I was going to watch videos and stuff. I took my headphones and everything. And
you had like stuff downloaded,
Yeah.
ready to.
But-
And then he didn't. He listened the whole time. He was into it. I was gonna say something.
But just seeing the culture and seeing that it's a real thing. It's not just a, I don't know what. I know what a lot of people probably think it is. Not only spouses, but family members and everything else. They don't think it's a real job, a real business, or whatever. But just to see that it is, it's really no different than someone. We live in a government contract town, so that's stuff that comes to mind. But that's no different than somebody who works for Boeing or Lockheed Martin or something going to a conference for them. It's really no different. So
Yeah. Except it's way more fun. Like I did not want to go to my dental conventions when I was a dental hygienist. I didn't want to go to like my continuing ed stuff, but like this stuff actually makes me so excited. So there was something else I was gonna say and totally spaced. So there's that. So I guess we need to share a little bit about our story before we start, so that those of you who don't know us can know kind of where we've come from. We have not obviously been in this place that we're at now forever, and we actually haven't been in this place very long. So right now he does not work anymore. It's been how many months?
4.
4 months now that he has been at home with us and living his best life, doing whatever he wants to do, literally every day. And that's something I've wanted for him for as long as we've been married. I mean, since I found Scentsy and realized that was a possibility, I don't care what he does. I just want him to be happy, and I want him to do whatever he wants to do, whether it makes money or doesn't make money. I don't care. He is a disabled veteran. He did 6 years in the Army, and we did start dating while he was in the Army. We were married for 2 years while he was still in the Army, and then he got out. But so to start there, so we were married for 2 years while he was in the Army. I had just graduated dental hygiene school, and it took me a little while to get my license because I failed my boards the first go around. So that was fun. And so I worked at a bank for a little while when we first got married, and then I finally got my license and then went into the dental field. At that time, I had no idea what Scentsy was, never heard of it. I think we were using candles for a little bit. I know we had like 2 candles in the house. I don't know if we actually used them. I don't think we really used anything for scent. Like our house probably just smelled like dog. So, and then I found Scentsy on a yard sale page or something, and I was like, no, I started at Walmart. I found knockoffs at Walmart. Got a warmer, got some cheapo wax. It didn't last for like an hour. The warmer was so hot it was like gonna burn me every time I touched it. And so then I found Scentsy on a yard sale site, and I realized like, oh, Walmart didn't make this stuff up. This was a thing before. So I've tried Scentsy, but I would not pay full price for it. Like we couldn't. We literally didn't have the money anyway. So I found it on a yard sale site, bought a used warmer, bought some wax, and fell in love with it. And then I found my consultant. I went over to her house one day. She was making samples. I was like, this is fun. I love these scents, like all the things. I can't spend the money on all this stuff, so I need to probably just join and try to at least get the discount. So I grabbed a credit card that we had because we didn't have $99 sitting in our bank account. I used that credit card, I joined, and then I hit my Fast Start awards and all that, paid that. Maybe I paid that credit card back. I don't know. We were really irresponsible sometimes back then. But anyway, so that's that. And I literally, like I said, joined for the discount. I did not want a team, told him I didn't want a team. I didn't know anything about direct sales, didn't know anything about having a team, didn't know anything about parties. I just knew I loved Scentsy, so I started doing online parties. I literally built my business on online parties, and I would do 8 to 10 a month, sometimes more. Recruited 2 a month. I started recruiting about 4 months in because I realized what this could do. I had heard that my star director was doing this full time, and I was like, okay, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So I was like, well, maybe I could bring in some extra money. So then I don't know what I really just kind of wanted my own money, I think. And maybe that's what I was using it for at first, like to buy random things that I couldn't buy for myself because we didn't have the money. And then it went to like, I paid a cell phone bill, I think, and then like maybe an insurance payment, I don't know. But then I realized that it could be a lot more. So about 8 months into Scentsy, he was getting out of the Army, and I decided I was just going to quit my dental hygiene job. And we moved back to Alabama. We were stationed in Colorado, so we moved back here. I would have took a huge pay cut as a dental hygienist moving here. And so I was like, well, I'll just quit and I'll build this. So I promoted to director like 2 months later, I think. But he owned a trucking company at the time. He actually opened it while he was in the Army. And he was like driving over the road, and we had just 2 dogs. We didn't have a kid yet, so we would take the dogs with us. We would travel. Well, he was working, but I was traveling with him and working my business in the truck, like doing whatever we had to do. And so that was something that we loved about my business when he first got out of the Army, is because it had that flexibility where I could work wherever, whenever. So I would just go with him, and we were able to spend time together, and I could still work. So I just worked on building it from there. And then we didn't have Carson until 3 years later. So I worked on building it, and when he was born, I promoted to superstar director like the next month or 2 months later, something like that. So yeah, that's how I built my business. He has owned 2 different, he had a trucking company, and then he was doing like glass work and doors. He was contracted with Home Depot, and anyway, he was miserable at his job, and I saw it every single day. And what did your days look like with your last job that you just got out of?
Work.
A bunch of bull crap, yeah. To be honest.
So you wake up and wonder who's going to be mad today because you couldn't. So we live in an area that the housing market's booming, and I come across this contract with Home Depot. It wasn't actually a contract with Home Depot. I was a contractor for Home Depot, I guess the clearest way to put it. So anybody who went into Home Depot and bought a door, then we had to go out and measure it, and then we went back and put it in. So anyways, the people coming in here, we've got Space Force and Facebook headquarters, or Facebook, and FBI headquarters moving here, and all these people was coming in. So like the houses, the market around here is just insane. So it got way too overwhelming, and we were supposed to keep a 7 to 10 day lead time, and our lead times got out like 3 months because of the amount of doors that just started coming in. So to it wasn't just us. So to tell you a little bit, like financially wise, Home Depot was hitting their yearly goal in like a month and a half. That's how many doors we're selling. So we got way behind. It was just extremely stressful. I would wake up, jump in the shower, go straight to work, and then I wasn't getting home a lot of nights during the summer until 8 or 9 o'clock at night because it wasn't getting dark. And then I would come in here and or go in my office, and I would work on scheduling doors for until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I would have to, the next day I wake up again trying to call people to schedule their doors while I'm putting other doors in, and it just went on and on and on, and we couldn't find help. Like we hired different people. I think we went through maybe 7 different employees in an 8-month stretch. So just nobody wanted to work. They wanted to make the money, but then whenever they seen what they had to do to make the money, then they wasn't interested anymore. And that's, it was very stressful. So.
It was stressful. It was mentally exhausting, physically exhausting. I mean, literally, he was working from sun up to sundown plus some.
And you couldn't get a day off. You took a day off, you felt guilty, and there was people calling you all times of the day and night, and on Sundays and every day of the week. So I mean, you couldn't even take a day off without feeling guilty and being pressured that you should be somewhere doing something.
And he couldn't come home from work without having, he just wanted to vent about his day every day that he came home. There was never anything positive about his days. Like, it was so sad for me to watch, for him to come home and just be miserable every day. Like, literally couldn't tell me anything good about his day. And you can just see in a person, especially when you live with them every day, you can see how drained they are emotionally, physically, everything, and that affects everything. So now, I mean, I'll be sitting in here working and he's like walking through the house whistling or singing, and I'm like, he's so happy now. Like, it just radiates off of him. I mean, as you can tell, see how happy he looks? People tease him all the time because he's always like, but I promise he's happy now. He's fulfilled now. So, okay, what do your days look like now that you've quit your job? Totally opposite. We have mornings together, we have breakfast dates, we have lunch dates, we literally go places when we want to go. I mean, I have very little things that are actually scheduled hard time things that are time sensitive. Like, yes, we have stuff like this, but it's not that often. So usually I can pick up and go. Like, if he wants to go have breakfast, we can go. Like, and used to, we would have to try really hard to have a date night. Like, we would have to get a babysitter, and it would be like maybe once a month that we would get to go. And so now we can actually spend time together during the week, during the days when Carson's at school, and we get so much more time with each other. And then he can actually have time with Carson where he's present, where he's not, you know, trying to squeeze in 30 minutes with him, but yet he's still thinking about work because there's always something to stress over, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you probably never really felt present with us at all because there was always something in the back of your mind that you were worried about or that you knew needed to get done.
Yeah,
because there was his to-do list was like, it wasn't physically possible to do it all. Between work and between things that need to be done in the house or even mow the grass, like basic things, it was like he didn't have time to do any of it. So that's stressful. And I'm sure all of you have been through that, so you probably understand. But yeah, I mean, our days are just so chill now. I mean, it's not, like I said, he does what he wants to do. He likes to hunt. I'm hunting with him now too, which is fun because I can go with him. He likes to fish. I like to fish. Like, we like to do anything outdoors, which is good because we have a boy. So, and he loves it too. But yesterday we had to go randomly do something that took like 4 hours, and it was fine. I did some work in the truck while he drove. We went and ate lunch together. Then we went and picked Carson up, and we decided to take him to the movies last night, just last minute, because we just kind of do what we want to do, honestly. And it's took 7 years to get here, so I want y'all to keep that in mind. It's gonna take a while to get to where you want to be. It's not gonna happen overnight, and it's definitely not gonna be easy. There's gonna be a lot of sacrifice. There's gonna be a lot of struggle. There's gonna be blood, sweat, and tears, literally. But you can get there if you keep on keeping on, because it's gonna be worth it one day. What would you say to someone who has an unsupportive spouse?
So that's a hard question, because them being unsupportive can stem from different things. So maybe, maybe somebody's tried multiple things, multiple direct sales companies, and, they haven't worked out. So, they may feel like this is just another one just like that, or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's multiple reasons. Maybe, it's taking time. Maybe you work a job and you do this. So it's taking time in the evenings away. So, I don't know. I guess the easiest way really it depends on what drives people as well. So if it's time, if it's finances, whatever drives a couple, then, maybe show them someone that's been in it for a while that has that trait that you guys are looking for. So if you're looking, for financial freedom, if you're looking for time, flexibility, like, find somebody that is in this business that is within reach. Like, when I say that, I mean, don't show them somebody that's been doing it for 20 years or whatever. Like, show them somebody that, you know, has been doing it for 2 or 3 years or whatever, that, you know, has that flexibility or that, you know, the financial income that's helping or whatever, and show them that it's realistic, and then, you know, that might help out. So I guess that would be the...
I think most men too want to see numbers, like the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. Like, they don't want to hear you talk about what you're going to do. They want to see you do it and see it happen and see the paychecks rolling in.
If it's finances.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't see how really any guy couldn't be excited that his wife made $200 to help it. Because most men are stressed out financially, and they would love to have a little bit of help.
Yeah, I think it's the natural. It's changing a little bit every year, but I think it's just the natural. It's born into us that it's the man's job to take care of the household. I think that's just how that's how it used to be. I mean, back in the older days, I mean, long time ago, 100 years ago or whatever, and it's slowly changing as the years go on, but I think it's still, you know, it's the man's job to take care of the household, especially financially. That's the way it's always been. And, you know, it's definitely, we stress out over that, so it's nice to have help sometimes.
And then also what he was saying too is kind of like, you need to know their love language too, because if they're upset that your business is taking you away from them, which it did me a lot, but also your business took you away from me a lot too, like that, it's a struggle. But I think it was easier for us to be understanding of it because we both owned a business and we both knew that it was going to happen. But
it's easier. You're going to hear me say this probably a lot. I don't even know. I haven't really looked over these questions, but you have to make short-term sacrifices to get to a long-term goal. And that's the best way to view it, is look at that long-term goal. You can't look at right now, you know, we can't go somewhere I'm wanting to go because she's doing a call or whatever. Like, you can't look at it that way. You have to look at where you're trying to get to, you know, so.
Yeah. But if their love language is quality time, you need to make sure you're setting time aside to spend with them. Same with your kids. I mean, your kids may start resenting your business if they see your face in your phone all the time and you're never spending time with them. Like, if you have to schedule out 30 minutes in the afternoon to play with your kids, do it. And whatever. So it's just being intentional with making sure they are fulfilled, and that's not going to happen without communication. You're going to have to talk to them about it. You're going to have to ask them, what do you need from me? What, you know, like, what would make you happy? What would make this feel more balanced with my business, and making sure I'm giving you enough time. Because at the end of the day, they're the top priority, and your business can't come before them. You know, there's going to be certain times where it will, but I think I'll need to be in agreement on that. Like, if I had a party at night or something, and I don't know, it's just communication.
It's the biggest thing, communication. So, like, at first on that with the phone thing and stuff, like time, I seen somebody say something about time. You know, at first I would get mad at her because, like, when I was trucking especially, because I mean, we're out there for months at a time. I think our longest journey was like 3 months that we didn't go home. We lived in the truck for 3 months. But,
with a German Shepherd and a lab.
Yeah. But it's, you know, I was driving. I didn't have nobody else to talk to. I'm out there by myself. I mean, she's with me, but I'm saying, you know, typically I'd be out there by myself, or I would call her and talk to her, whatever. But since she was with me, she was on her phone all the time. So I had to teach myself to ask her before just saying, you know, something like, you know, can you get off your phone for a little while or whatever. I would ask, like, are you working? You know, because back then, she don't do it anymore, but back then she would scroll Facebook all the time, and, you know,
I don't have time to do that anymore.
all that stuff. So, like, I was making sure, because I started seeing the results of, you know, income helping out, because I was so stressed out over that, working, you know, because we went from 2 incomes to basically 1 at first, because she wouldn't, like, making a
I don't
guess
even know if I was making $1,000 a month.
you weren't making
probably around $1,000 a month when I.
Yeah, but she wasn't making like the paycheck she was making when she was a dental hygienist. So it's basically kind of like we went from 2.5 incomes to 1.5. So, I had to make sure that she was working because I didn't want to disturb that because I understood, because I started seeing the results of the time being put in. So.
And that reminds me of like something that I've made sure that I do now is if we're riding in the car together, I'm very rarely picking up my phone. Like I am present in that moment because that's time that if you have young kids, you understand that sometimes a car ride is the only time you have to have an adult conversation with each other. So if we're in the car together, I have made a habit out of not touching my phone for the most part. Like it's down, we're talking, we're doing whatever, to actually be present with each other. So that's something too. Like little things like that can make a really big difference. And then also like communicating when you're going to have a party or you need to do a live unboxing or you need to do a team training or something and you need your spouse's help with watching the kids or putting the kids to bed, don't tell them the night of the party.
Yeah.
Because they'll get real mad. He doesn't like to be told last minute about something. Like I had to learn to communicate. I had to learn to get a big master calendar and tell him things ahead of time so that, like I told him about this call like a month ago. I make sure things are communicated ahead of time so that he's not feeling, like, I don't know why he feels that way, but.
Because I don't plan months ahead of time. I basically, the night before, the morning of, I wake up and kind of plan my day out. And then if something interferes with my plans, then it irritates me, I guess I should say. But if I plan around something, then it doesn't bother me at all. Like I don't mind helping her out at all. But like if I woke up and didn't know about this call and I had already planned to do something else and then she told me about it, then it would irritate me because I already had plans.
Yeah, so it's a respect thing. Like be respectful that they have their own life too and their own plans too, outside of you having your business and your plans for your day. So if you're asking them to please put the kid down for bed tonight and they don't want to do it and because they already had plans to play a game with their buddies and you get mad about that, that's just gonna, I feel like, make them resent your business even more. And then it may make you feel guilty too, or whatever feeling. Like it's just not a good thing. So make sure you're communicating those things ahead of time. That's why it's so important to plan too as a business owner. And this next one is how to get your spouse more on board, but I think we've answered that. It's kind of went in with that.
Yeah, basically just find what the combined goal of the family is and show them how you can help in that area, whether it's time, finances, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and show them
the potential.
Show them the potential, but actually show them, like, work hard. Show them that all this stuff you're doing and all these sacrificing you're having to make is going to pay off. Like, make the money.
And
build
growth.
Your team.
Because if if you're contributing $200 or whatever, and that's helping out. If it's, if you're putting all this work, especially if you're dedicating more time and more time and more time and you're getting the same end result, then it is going to, I think I can speak for most humans here, after certain amount of time, it's going to start to wear off because it's not growing. But if you're putting more and more time or, as far as more and more time, like daily, monthly, whatever, but also the length of time that you've been in it and it's continuing to grow and grow and grow, then that shows that you're moving forward toward that end result that you're showing them that somebody else is doing. But if you show them what somebody else is doing, and they've been doing it 3 years, for instance, and, you start out and you've been doing it for a year and it's like the same thing over and over and over and you're not seeing any growth, then they could start to think that you're not going to get there and it could start to, I don't know, not be as motivating, I guess.
And let them give you advice too. Like he is very business minded and I have become business minded, but I wasn't always that way. So like, I've learned a lot from him and he's a really good numbers person and I hate everything to do with numbers, math. Like I really want to make him my CFO. I haven't told him that yet, but I'm thinking about it. If he wants to. I hate math. I hate numbers. But like, he's really smart with things. He does all of our finances. He pays all our bills. Like, he does our budgeting, all that stuff. So let your husband help you out too. If they have something that they want to tell you about your business, if they're pointing out something that they are seeing that they don't like or they don't appreciate or that they want to give you a suggestion on, don't get offended. Just listen. And y'all need to be working as a team. So listen to what they have to say and take their advice and, you know, just try to work as a team. I mean, that goes for all aspects of life, but especially parenting, because it's a struggle. He's a better parent than I am too. In what ways did or does he support your business? Anything specific he has done to help you run the business at any time? So he has always supported my business in the fact that he's there at events. He's there to encourage me. He has been my biggest cheerleader forever and ever since the beginning. He will go deliver orders. Like, if we're going out to go to dinner or something, we'll deliver orders on the way out. We're always together, like literally always. So I don't ever have to ask him, like, hey, can you take this order and drop it off? Or can you go to the post office? Like, we're just always together. So if we're out doing something, he will be supportive and say, yes, we can do this. We can stop at this person's house. He teases me about it sometimes because he says that every time we go somewhere, I have a customer to deliver to. But he has been supportive in that aspect. And like I said, going to trainings with me, he has supported the fact that I need to spend money to invest in going to Scentsy Family Reunion or going to leadership or whatever, because it is worth it if you put the action in afterward. If not, it's just a waste of money. So
at the beginning too, like helping support her to grow is, like she mentioned, when I got out of the Army and we decided we were going to stay in Colorado originally, but when we decided to move back and we knew that she was going to have to quit her job in order for us to do that, and she was going to take like a 50% pay cut to come back here, then for her to be able to be with me in the truck, like I would tell her like how we could make it work. So, you know, we would stop at truck stops at the UPS and the FedEx drop boxes and stuff. And, you know, I had to take time out of my day that I may be rushing, you know, trying to get somewhere. But I knew that, you know, whatever she had needed to be sent out, you know, in order to make it work. So, like, you know, not only did she had no idea about those drop boxes, so I let her know about that, but also I took a little bit of time out of my day to stop and to help her make that happen. So
he has helped me at bedtime with Carson when I have a Facebook party or when he is not going to bed and he just needs to be kept content, like when he was a little bit younger. Now he's about to become my assistant because we're moving over an hour away, so I'm going to lose my assistant. So he's going to become my assistant, and I hope he's ready to make a lot of samples and do postage and all the spreadsheets and all the stuff. So I mean, there's been so many different seasons in our business, my business, that he's just helped where he could, depending on where we were at. And I mean, like, I never thought that he would become my assistant, but like right now, we know that he has to, because I'm gonna lose that help. So, and he may stay my assistant forever. We'll see how it goes, see if he likes it, see how we like it. Working together as a couple in business is tough sometimes. Luckily, me and him, we pretty much think the same about things and we agree on things. But for some couples, it's really hard. So if you have a goal of working together, just know that it may not be the easiest thing. It may take a lot of work, just like marriage in general takes a lot of work. So yeah. Did you have deployments while you're trying to run? So he deployed before we ever got married, and he got lucky those other 2 years that we were married, and he did not have to deploy. So we didn't have any deployments.
I went to Ranger School after
He did go to Ranger School. He went like out in the field a few times. We didn't have a kid then. Oh wait. How are you able to manage with a baby? I think that was the same question with the deployment thing, but I mean, having a little one was rough because both of us were trying to work at home. He actually, so the first year of Carson's life, he was trucking, so he was gone like all the time, and it was me and
home
Carson
every weekend. But when I was at home, I was refitting the truck, changing the oil, washing it, cleaning, washing my clothes, getting it packed back up, getting ready to go again. So
he was really never there for like the first year, and it was just me and Carson. And then, and honestly, looking back, it was tough, but he slept a lot. Like, he would take like 2 naps a day, so I could get a lot of work done during that time. But then when he turned like 1 to 2, it was really rough. And when he turned 2, we were like, he has to go to school. Like, he has to go to school. He's miserable here. He doesn't have anybody to play with. He needs interaction. We can't work. It stresses us out when we can't get our to-do list done.
yeah, at that time I wasn't driving anymore. I was running the trucking business from home, and there was actually my dad was working in the office with me, so he didn't understand. Carson didn't understand that we were here, but we were working, and he didn't understand that.
He was so little, and he was like going through the phase of where he would scream at the top of his lungs, and they're in there trying to dispatch truckers, and it was rough. So yeah, we just did what we had to do, and then we finally realized, like, I have to stop with the mom guilt and realize that it's better for me and better for Carson to send him to school. So we did. And I struggled with guilt for a while with that. I had other people that I talked to who had done it, who were in Scentsy, who sent their kids off to school so that they could focus on their business. He helped me through it. Like, I had support, because if I wouldn't have had support, I would have just been like crying all day long every day, feeling guilty. Like, knowing deep down that it was best for both of us, it still made me feel guilty because I didn't work outside the home. So I felt like I had a choice to send him to school or not. But really, I didn't. I had to pretend like I was going to work outside of the home in order to feel like, okay, it's a non-negotiable, it has to be done.
And that's one of those things too, again, making that sacrifice for the long-term goal. So making that sacrifice of sending him to school, to where not only, we've seen a big change in him with his speech and everything else by getting around other kids, having friends, but the thing, like she said, she felt guilt because we were here. So she felt like, since we're here, then, we should be able to, be able to spend more time with him. But really, it's not that way. But you have to make that sacrifice to where we are building toward where we are now, to where we can both have more time with him.
Or even if it was just me and he was still working outside the home, because not every husband wants to come home. So he goes to school, he plays with his friends, and I get my work done. And then when he's home, I can spend focused, present time with him instead of me trying to be on my phone working while spending time with him. And he's getting older, so that's important to have that one-on-one time with your kids. They crave that attention, especially if your kid's love language is quality time. And my love language is quality time. So if I'm not getting that time with him, I feel horrible and I feel guilty about it. So, I went back and forth with that for a while, sending him to school. And I was like, I knew that we were all miserable here, but it was like, I still didn't want to do it. And finally, when I finally did it, we started seeing how much better it was. And his mood's better, my mood's better, his mood's better. Because if I'm a butthole all the time, then he's not going to be happy. And it was a whole thing. Okay, so somebody said, my husband is supportive to a point. He would actually like to have me make this my full-time gig. However, we all know we can be our own best customers sometimes, and he used to give me grief. While your growth far surpassed mine in the same time frame, have you ever butted heads about this? So, no. I don't guess. I think you mean by your own best customer, maybe you mean that you were buying everything from yourself and didn't really have any customers outside of that. Am I?
I think so.
That just comes with what I said about...
So maybe spending all the money that you were making back on Scentsy.
So he wasn't seeing it as worth it. He was just seeing it as, you're literally just spending our money on Scentsy and you're not building a business.
Maybe.
So there's no profit there. So, I mean, no, we've never butted heads about that because I've always been very smart. Well, I mean, I couldn't buy Scentsy from myself at first. Like, I just used my host rewards to get everything. Like, I've always been smart about that. I used my host rewards. I used product credits, like whatever I had to do. Now I can have a Scentsy Club subscription. I can have 2 Scentsy Club subscriptions. I can buy things from myself and get the PRV and get the commission back on it on the next paycheck because we have that flexibility in our money now. But back then I didn't spend money that we didn't have on things like that. And I was actually building a business too. I mean, I was growing my business at a rapid rate where I was doing 8 to 10 parties a month. I mean, that's a lot of new customers every month. So you're gonna make money if you're doing this right. If you're doing parties, if you're recruiting, if you're going out meeting new people, if you're having conversations. There's a difference in being a hobbyist and building a business. So, I mean, if you're just being a hobbyist and just spending all your money on Scentsy, I mean, that's a lot different than building a business that's going to be profitable and going to actually change your life. So, I guess just decide what you want Scentsy to be. For Derek, what's your favorite scent?
I don't know. I guess.
Hold on. Let's count to 3 and then we'll say it and see if I guessed it right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Honeymoon Hideaway. Okay.
Yeah. That and Jammy Time, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Learn something new every day because I didn't know that. You do like Berry Fairy Tale, which is discontinued now. You like, I have Honeymoon Hideaway on Club, but you like, he likes fruity scents and a lot of clean scents. He hates bakery scents.
Yes.
So, like, I wore him the eggnog when he was gone hunting because I knew by the time he got back I needed to change it out to, like, cranberry or something. So, what was your favorite event or incentive trip and why? We've been on so many. We've been on, like, 12. Well, I've earned, like, 12 incentive trips. We've probably been on 10, 8 or 10, plus all the events.
I don't really have a favorite. It's... In the past, it's always been a break. Like, it was one of those things that I knew that she needed, so I sacrificed, like, last year or the year before, like, knowing that I was way behind and knowing that I was going to be getting blown up the whole time and stuff. Like, I just go ahead and make the sacrifice and take the time to go because I knew that she needed it and I needed a break. So, you know, I don't really have a favorite. They're all fun. They're all, you know, they're all a break and they're all like a way out, I guess you should say. So
we've been to Mexico, which was
now my
really
favorite
nice.
room was there for sure
Because it was all inclusive and it was just so nice. The where did we stay? Palace? Moon Palace in Cancun. It was amazing. And that was really fun because it was all inclusive. We didn't even have to worry about like spending our per diem that Scentsy would normally give you on an incentive trip. You still have to make sure you're not going over your per diem if you can't. But it was just like all done for us and it was so nice. Disney World, of course, has always been a great incentive trip. We've been on 2. We've been to Disneyland with Scentsy for a reunion. We had never been to Disney parks ever. I mean, we couldn't do that as kids. So our first Disney World trip was with Scentsy. It was our first incentive trip. We went on a Mediterranean cruise. Like, we've gone on so many. We've traveled more the last 6 years than we've ever traveled our whole lives. I mean, we'd never even been out of the country other than him being deployed. So we didn't have passports. Like, it's so many firsts because of all these trips. But we've been so many random places that we would have never gone on our own. So it's been really cool to like experience Europe, and because we wouldn't have done that. We're not like sightseer people, we're adventure seekers. So we like beach and scuba diving and swimming with sharks, like crazy stuff.
You're not going to find us in the gift shops. You're going to find us on the jet skis and stuff.
Yeah, or at the ice cream or candy
store.
Well,
yeah, you'll find us in candy store.
Okay, so when was the point where you realized this was an actual business and not just a side gig? Or like, when did you start taking it seriously? I feel like you've kind of always taken it seriously because you knew what I was capable of and you knew what Scentsy could be. But was there an actual point where you realized it was an actual business and not just a side gig?
I mean, I don't remember an actual point, but I would say that it was probably when exactly the advice I gave earlier. You showed me somebody who had, what the potential was of the business. Because if you don't know what the potential is, then you can't think of it as, I mean, I don't know how to, trying to think of a comparison to that, but like, if you don't know what the business is capable of, then you can't know that you could get there, I guess.
If you don't vision without...
If you don't have a destination, you don't have a path to get there. So I mean,
yeah.
Once you probably showed me, like I said, I don't remember because it's been so many years, but when you showed me someone, what they were doing, we've talked about this many times, what's life-changing to people. So life-changing is different to different people. And
life-changing money?
Well, money, just
anything,
yeah. But mainly, let's just say finances, for instance. Like, if life-changing to your family is $1,000 a month, and you show them someone who is making $1,000 a month, then that's probably where you're going to kick interest in,
Yeah.
So that's probably where I changed, is whatever you showed me was life-changing, and seeing that it was within reach. So
yeah. And I mean, when we got married and I was working as a hygienist, you were in the Army, like, it wasn't a thing to have the wife working and the husband is at home. Like, I don't think I'd ever even heard of that. And then when I joined Scentsy and started hearing about that, I was like, that's a thing? Like, what? That's not normal, obviously. It's getting more normal nowadays, but it's still not normal. So, like, to think back on that and realize that I haven't always known this was a possibility, it's weird.
Well, it's the same thing.
I started seeing other people.
It goes into everything. Like, where you realize something changes, that is when you see that it's a possibility. So, we've talked about this many times. Like, growing up where I grew up, there wasn't really airline pilots, and there wasn't, I don't know, like, big business, people like that work for, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but basically, let's just use airline pilots for example. There just wasn't airline pilots around where I grew up, because we weren't real close to an airport. But you go somewhere like Atlanta, and it's probably very normal for kids to have pilots as parents, So if you don't know that something exists, it's hard to know. Like, I had no idea direct sales even existed. I didn't even know, like, when we bought our house and the Kirby vacuum people come to our door, like, we had no idea that was a direct sales company. Like, we didn't know that it even existed.
I didn't know that for a lot of years, that they were a company like that.
Well, I didn't either. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you don't know something exists, it's hard to know what it can do. So you have to, it's probably something new to a lot of you and your spouses or whatever. So if they don't even know what a direct sales company is, what it's capable of, or whatever, I know we've seen a change in our parents. Like, we've taught them that, growing,
whole family.
Yeah, growing up, the thing is, growing up how we have anyways, it'll be different from Carson because, she's in direct sales, so he'll know that it's a thing. But
he only knows Scentsy. Like, he doesn't know life without Scentsy.
Yeah, but like growing up with you got both parents working a normal job, whatever it may be, anywhere from a fast food worker all the way up to a surgeon, a lawyer, whatever it is, then they see that as being normal. So they will always, most people always will follow. If you'll notice, a lot of dentists have kids that are dentists. A lot of nurses have kids that are nurses because they are trained in a certain way. But once you once you realize that there's more to it, and you see the potential of more to it, like, that's how you can strike interest. So,
and like, from where I'm from, it was healthcare or be a teacher. Like, that was basically it.
Mom was healthcare, teacher, or farmer. Like,
Yeah, not very many people wanted to go be a pilot, like he said, or an engineer even, or whatever. Like it was like healthcare or teacher. But were you ever on the fence about my business or about Scentsy?
Not really, because I mean, by the time you were working a job and doing it as a hobby on the side, and so by the time it turned to be a real thing, is, you know, when we started to move, and it, you know, yes, it was helping out even when you were making, you know, a little bit extra, but whenever we decided for you to do it full time so that you could be with me in the truck and stuff, you know, I mean, you were making a contributable amount, you know.
My goal during that short time when he first got out, we were struggling bad financially, and so it was like looked down upon by our family, the fact that I didn't go back to work and I was just doing Scentsy and wasn't making that much. But it was my goal in those couple of months to match my dental hygiene income, and that's when I promoted to director, and I did match it like 2 or 3 months later. So we had that vision together that our family was clueless about. They didn't know how this business works. So if you have unsupportive family members, just know it's because they don't understand this. It's not because they don't want to be supportive necessarily. They just don't get it. They don't, and our family probably still doesn't completely get it, but they've become way more supportive because we've proven, I mean, he's at home now, obviously, but like we've proven over the years that our vision that we had, we were not crazy. We knew what we were doing, like, but it's not typical, so most people aren't going to understand it. But
I think it wasn't so much that we were necessarily just completely struggling financially as much as it was that I was having to work overtime nonstop. When I say, I mean, we were trucking, but basically not coming home, not taking days off. Like I was working nonstop to make ends meet. So that's,
and it looked like I was doing nothing.
yeah, that you wasn't contributing. Yeah.
So, yeah. Did I ever almost quit? I'm not a quitter, so no. Has this been hard? Yes, very hard. I've cried a lot. I've struggled. I've needed support, which is why I have mentors, which is why I have friends in Scentsy, which is why I have him. Yes, it has been, especially, it wasn't hard until leadership. Leadership is not easy, but that's where it's so worth it, because that's where all the good stuff comes. Not just the money, but the reward of seeing all these people quitting their jobs and their lives changing. Like the fact that all these things that have happened to us are now happening for people in our group, and it is the coolest freaking thing ever to watch. People leaving their jobs that they hate, people paying off their credit card debt, people getting new cars that they didn't ever imagine they could get, people going and buying a new dining room table that they never thought they could have. Like all these things mean so much to me now, more than the money does for my family. Not more than the money does for my family, but more than the money does, because now I have the aspect of I'm taking care of my family and building this life for us, but I'm also helping all of you build a life for you and your family. So it's so rewarding, but leadership is very hard. And so yes, it's been very hard, but I've never almost quit. I'm not a quitter. That's not even in my vocabulary. And especially when I have a group of 1,700 people, like I could never quit on all of you either. I'm not going to quit on my family. I'm not going to quit on myself. I'm not going to quit on y'all. But like, yes, it's been hard, but I've never considered quitting, because why in the world would I go back to the life I used to have? First of all, like that is what keeps me from ever even wanting to quit, is the fact that it was hard being broke and going to work for somebody else every day. And we wouldn't have even been able to afford daycare or school for Carson. Like we could put him in a private school, any private school we wanted probably at this point. Back then, it would have been send him to the most basic daycare, cheapest daycare that we could afford, or I could just quit my job because I'd probably just be paying for daycare. Like, so much different. So why would we ever go back to that kind of life where we were so miserable and so broke and so didn't have time to do anything? He could have never traveled with me if he would have stayed in the Army. Like, there's just no way. Like, if I quit, it would be the dumbest thing I've ever done. So,
well, and I think that goes back to the progression that we was talking about earlier too. Is she's always put in the work to see progression. So, you know, it's not. I think where some people might run into that barrier is where, you know, going back to the finance thing I used earlier, like if you're stuck at $200 month after month after month after month, not seeing growth, that's where you might want to quit. But I asked her when she told me about this, I asked her if I could be blunt, if I had to tell the truth or if I had to be nice. But the fact is, if you're not seeing growth, you're not putting in the work. I mean, that's just plain and simple.
Hello!
So,
we're going to quote that.
But yeah, I mean, that's just simple. Like if you're seeing...
Hold on, say that again. What was it? If you're not seeing growth, you're not putting in the work.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, because that's why she's always seen where she wanted to be. We talked about it as a family. She watched people, looked at people that, you know, was more where she wanted to be. Don't be jealous of people, just work to get there. And that's what, you know, that's basically what's got us to where we are today is, you know, putting in the work.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
That most people don't have nowadays. Work ethic and just...
Because going back, I mean, it was my work
action.
ethic that I worked extra to where she could do this full time, to where she could put more work into it, you know, I don't know. I mean, yes, I've never been a direct part of it as far as like, you know, I do sell stuff from time to time, but...
He just got me a new customer in the drive-thru the other day.
But mainly just working together as a family. Like your husband doesn't have to be, or your spouse doesn't have to directly help you in order to be helping you. Like... Yes,
they don't have to go live with you. He hates video. Like, it took me 3 or 4 years to get him to do a video like this with me. Every spouse is going to show their support in different ways. So, like, you can't compare our marriage and our business relationship to yours. Like, you can't, it has to, how do I explain? I don't know. They'll support you in different ways. They don't have to support you like you think they need to support you, or like other people's spouse supports them. They'll, I guess, look for the ways that they are supporting you and don't look at the things they're not doing.
And don't force them to do something to support you that they don't want to do. Find another way. So, you know, if they don't want to do something that you want them to do because you see other people doing it, don't force them to do it, because most of the time it's human nature. If you force something on someone, they're going to push away. So...
Yeah, and like I said earlier, they may start to resent your business, and it's just not going to be a good thing. So this one says, in his opinion, what has helped to keep a good family business balance? And then a minute ago, somebody asked this one, and it was pretty similar. What are things you would tell us wives to do towards our family and husbands to keep a better balance for our relationship? So it's kind of all the same thing, like keeping a business and family and relationship balance. What has helped to keep that balance, in your opinion?
Communication. I mean, that's
literally,
that's all it is. I mean, that's in anything in life. I mean, in any business, in any family, anything, communication is what keeps happiness and balance. I mean,
and if you suck at it, or your spouse sucks at it, you can get better, because he used to be real bad about it, and I may have. I think I tried a lot more, and he was just like, that was his version of communication, was not talking at all. He is a real bad communicator, but we've worked on it. And I mean, we used to argue a lot when we never communicated, because there's unspoken expectations, there's false expectations, there's things that you think they expect from you that they actually don't expect from you. Like, I would feel so guilty if I didn't want to cook, because I hate cooking. Loathe cooking. But it didn't bother him as bad as it bothered me that I wasn't doing it for him. I thought that he expected me to cook every night, and especially because his love language is acts of service. So like, I would be so hard on myself silently because I thought he had thoughts toward me that I was a bad wife because I didn't cook. But he didn't have that expectation at all. He didn't think that in his head. And so that was hurting me, and it wasn't even a thought he had. Communication is just, I can't even say enough how important
And just
it is.
adapt, like work together to adapt to the situation. Like if there's something, like she was talking about cooking, if there's something, say for instance you're on a party or whatever and it runs over and everybody's hungry, like just work together to maybe communicate like, hey, I was planning on cooking, but this is running over. Can you go get us something? Can you take care of it? Whatever. Like just, I don't know, just work together. I mean, that's literally how we've got to where we are today, is working together, because you don't get somewhere. I mean, I think anybody could understand that, a lot of living, going to the finance part of thing, a lot of living expenses don't change a lot from one person to two people, but the income does change. So, like groceries and stuff like that, like most of the time when you go buy groceries and you fix a meal, it's gonna be enough for two people, but it's gonna cost the same as only one person was eating it. So I guess what I'm getting at is working together to pay all the bills is a lot easier than doing it all by yourself. So that comes with everything, not just household expenses and financial part of anything, but building a business. It's a lot easier to work together than it is to do it by yourself. So. And
then in addition, the balance comes from boundaries. So we talk about this all the time, especially if you're a leader, but boundaries, you've got to have boundaries. Your customers aren't going to die if you don't respond to them at 11 o'clock at night. They can wait till the next morning. Your team is going to be fine if you don't respond to them until your business hours resume. Like, you have to have that intentional focused time to spend with your people so that your job doesn't take over, because we do this business to give us more time with our family. But if you have a really good work ethic and you love Scentsy, it can very easily become the opposite and take over, and you don't even realize it until it starts to cause problems. So don't let, what you're working toward, that freedom and that flexibility that you're working toward, don't let it become the opposite, because if you're not being intentional with making sure it doesn't, then it will. And if you don't have those boundaries in place, like, you need to have time set aside for, like, every night we know that we're gonna spend some kind of time together usually. Like, we might watch a show, we might whatever, but you need to have the date nights too, where you're spending intentional time together, where you're talking, or any kind of time that you can have together. It doesn't even have to be a date night. It could be a date night in, it could be a car ride where you're intentionally communicating and talking to each other, not just watching a show together, because that doesn't count. I mean, yes, it's time together, but it's not quality time together. So
using the boundaries, though, just step back and think about it like a normal job. So if you're on your phone all the time, like not paying any attention to your spouse or whatever, then that's really no different than if you had an office job and you were at the office until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. It's literally the same thing. You may not think that it is because you're at home, but being physically present and I don't know, being physically, your body being there versus your mind being there is two different things. So,
yeah. Do either of you have unsupportive family? How do you handle that? We don't anymore.
No, we did, but we don't anymore.
But they've seen that this business is not a joke because I've proved it. And I mean, that's the thing, you just have to push through that. Like, it sucks when it's family, because you're like, they're supposed to love me. They're supposed to be my biggest fans. Like, why don't they see this the way I see it? I have specific family members who have been like extra supportive, who have, like, my papa is precious, and he has always been like my biggest fan. Every time I talk to him, he's like, how much did you make last month? How's your business doing? Like, he always is so proud and always asks, and he's never looked down on us for any decisions we've made as far as like well, you're crazy for quitting your job, or when you're going to go back to a real job, or, you know, why this, why that, why, you know, he's never been that way, but we've had some people who will, and it's just because they don't understand it, but we just had to learn not to care what other people think. I mean, it took me a while to get there. I used to struggle with that really bad, with both parenting, with business, with what I was doing for work, like all that stuff, the way I feed my family, like people being judgmental of the way you, anyway.
You can't allow others to make your decisions, so you can't let other people, the judgmental part of other people weigh on your decisions. You as a family have to make the decision, because your family members are not the ones living in the same household with you. They're not the ones that, you know, are going through the same struggles you're going through and that kind of stuff. So you can't, you know, no one, unless you, I seen something earlier that you can't, what did it say? You can't be judgmental of someone unless you've treaded the same waters or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, if they haven't been through the exact same thing that you have, or maybe it's been so long that they don't remember, then, you know, you can't allow them to make the decisions or put pressure on you to alter your decisions. So,
I mean, if we would have let that affect us, I'd still be, I guess I would have went back and been an underpaid dental hygienist, and we wouldn't be doing anything we're doing now. So, what's your favorite thing about the company?
basically just that that it's a good company, and that they put back into their consultants, and you know, they're not greedy. So that's
They're
probably
literally the most generous, precious people ever. Like, Heidi is a angel sent from heaven. Like, she's the most precious person. I just don't.
They're
just
real.
Amazing.
that's the biggest thing. They're real. So
Yeah. And that's something that he experienced at his first reunion. Well, and it was my first reunion too. Like, neither one of us ever realized how great the culture is and how the company actually is and how Heidi and Orville were until we went to that first event. And we met him and we heard him speak. And, I mean, you can just feel it in the air that it's just like, I don't know, it's...
And I always tell this if I'm ever trying to tell somebody about the company. So I guess it's the perfect time. And some of you may know this. She may have told you. I don't know. And the story that I tell may be a little bit off. But there was a girl that was at home office, right?
Yeah, Superstar Director Summit, I think.
Yeah, but she was there for whatever reason. I think it was a family member. I think it was her son had some sort of accident late in the evening. And he was in the hospital. Like, it was pretty bad, and she couldn't get a flight home until the next morning, and they put her on their jet and flew her home that night so that she could be with her family. So, like, that's the kind of people they are. So that's the easiest. I mean, if somebody can't see the kind of person you are from something like that, then, you know, I don't know how else you could see it. So, you know, and obviously they can't do that for everybody and whatever, but they always seem to do what's within their means if they feel led to do it. So,
I mean, and they send flowers to anybody in the company that they possibly can. It doesn't matter if you've been a consultant for 10 years or 2 days. If an immediate household family member dies, they're gonna send you flowers if they hear about that. If they know about it, they're gonna take care of you. They're gonna make you feel loved. They're gonna make you feel valued. Obviously, you get rewards for everything. If you earn an award, you're gonna get something awesome for it. If you earn an incentive, like, they're so generous with their incentives. It's insane. And I mean, they want us to feel loved and valued because we are. I mean, we are right next to their kids. They always say that. They are right there, right up there with their kids, with how much they love us and appreciate us. And I want that to be how I make my customers feel and my team feel. And I've just learned so much from Heidi and Orville and their values and this company's value. And I've become so much more generous and selfless. And just different than I was when I joined Scentsy because of that. Was it hard to leave your job, and why?
Definitely.
Yes, but no, probably. Yeses and nos. Go ahead.
It
I'm not
definitely,
going to talk for you, but
definitely wasn't a no and not being hard, but just because of the fact that it's always been, like I said earlier, I felt like it was my role to take care of my family, and when that changes, then it makes it very hard on someone. But plus, I've had a job since I was 13, so it's basically instilled in my brain to work, to always work, and it's hard to understand that there is more to life than working, and there's more to, to be able to do things that you want to do. That's just not the norm in today's life. Like, most people go to a job and they work 9 to 5 or whatever for their whole life, and then they live off their retirement. And when you start venturing away from that in a different path, then it's, you haven't seen that before, so it's hard to train your brain to think that way. So
we've always been risk takers, though. We don't stay in our comfort zone. That's why we're where we're at, because we've took a lot of risks. Some of them have not come out well, but most of them have. And I mean, Scentsy was a risk. Me quitting my job was a risk. Him with his businesses and the things he did with his businesses, and then starting a different one, and then now him leaving his job that was very secure. It sucked, but it was very secure. Like, they couldn't have let him go. I mean, they begged him to stay because they just couldn't find anybody like him. But we've always done those things that are scary and risky, and because we knew that the reward would be worth it.
And that too, letting people down, because there was a few people that I cared for, and that, that I got the contract from, that I didn't really want to let down. And plus it all kind of, I had employees, and my dad being one of them. It's hard when you pay, you're responsible for a family member's income. And we talked about it a lot before we actually done it, but it all worked out because he actually got an offer that was way better for him, especially right before or right during the time that we were trying to make the decision on what I was going to do. So that kind of just kick-started it.
That was a God thing, I think, that it just all fell into place that way, because it took him a while. I mean, we talked about him quitting for a while, and he was so iffy about it, like, for those reasons that he just said, but it all ended up working out exactly right.
I mean, and I made good money, so it's not like, like, yes, she makes good money and, she can support us, but it's still cutting an income. So, like, we were willing to make the adjustments that if we needed to make to not spend as much money on stuff that we didn't have to, that we just did just because we had the freedom to do it. So, it was also I don't care. Well, I guess at a certain point it would matter, but most of the time you're going to notice a change in income, a family is. So, somebody would really have to make just a ton of money to not really see a change in income at all. So
so this one is how has Scentsy impacted your life, but like I feel like we've covered everything through everything we've said, because we've kind of steered off of topics on some of them anyway.
I can say, though, I can tell you from point A to point Z, basically. Point A, it probably impacted our life when I've always done the budget, like I said, and when I would take our paychecks and we were having to, the way I used to have to do the budget is you take your income, you take your bills off of it, and it was negative. So you had to decide which bills you were going to try to put off until next month to where you had money to buy groceries and stuff. So once it got to the point where she was making enough extra money that it wasn't like that, to where it was breaking even. So you take your income and then you take your bills out of it, and you've got, you know, whatever amount of money left over that you need to go on, and then it equals out to zero. Then that's the first part. It started, you know, majorly impacting, and then the other part is where we are today. I mean, where we're living a more happy life, you know, and not
We
living.
have a 4-year-old with present parents that can go to anything he has, like be with him if he has sports or games or practices or parties at school or whatever. I mean, literally both of us could be there, but for most families, just being able to have one of you there is everything. And not have, you know, like maybe you're a nurse and you can't ever get off to go for stuff like that, but you can make way more money in Scentsy than you could ever make as a nurse. That's the thing with jobs, is you're capped on your income. There's no room for growth. So I just couldn't imagine still being at a job where I was stuck at one paycheck. Like, I can't believe I thought I wanted to do that with my life, and then now I'm like, I'll never stop making more money. That's the beauty of this business. Like, my income doubled every single year for the first 5 years, and now, I mean, it just increases like crazy every year.
And I don't want everybody to think that, you know, we're definitely financially driven for sure, but everybody's not like that. But it's not necessarily about that, because I don't think any single person could sit here and tell me that they would rather stress over bills and not even, you know, to have more time with somebody than they would to be able to comfortably pay their bills and spend more quality time with somebody. Because it's a stress. That's the way the world has made it. That's the way it is. If you can't pay your bills, you're stressed, you know, and it takes a certain amount of money just to live, you know, and that's just how it is. So, I mean, a lot of people are financially driven to want better things, but like, we're even more simple than some people. Like, some people, you know, want, I mean, I don't know, like, I don't think we want a $3 million house or anything. Like, it's just too much to clean and keep up. But, you know, some people, they have different goals, but like, just being able to live a normal life, spend time with one another, with, you know, our kid, and be able to pay our bills, and be able to go to the grocery store and not have to, you know, add up on our phone as we're going through, like we did 10 years ago or whatever, you know, have to go through, and we only had so much money that we could spend on groceries, so we had to make sure that we were staying on budget, because if we got up there, our card would get declined. So, you know, we had to make sure that we added it up, you know, just to get to a comfortable place where you don't have to do that.
There was like anxiety there for a while, that like we were so used to our card getting declined that it was weird for it to not. Like, I don't know if you had that, but like, I would get up there to pay and would be so scared that it would get declined.
Have anxiety.
And then, like, I'm trying to think of other things like that that like scarred me for the longest. Like,
I'm still that way. Just,
it sticks with you. Like, I don't even want to, I don't know, like, there's certain things that it's $30 and I'm like a blanket. This is that blanket that I was like, it's $50 or $40 or something, and you were like, just get it if you want it. And I was like, but it's $50. Like, but that doesn't affect us like it would have a few years ago. Like, we couldn't have spent $50 on a blanket. Like, we couldn't even spend, I mean, it's just, it sticks with you. It's like a scar. Even from your childhood, like, if you grew up hearing no all the time to things, and you grew up like, or if you grew up really, however, whether it was financially or other things, that stuff sticks with you, and it's like, it's hard to get out of it sometimes. But and then I guess, okay, so the last thing is for you, what's the one thing you would tell people who are trying to build a big Scentsy business?
Just like I said earlier, I know a lot of you probably heard this, and this is what I mean by the Scentsy events. Everybody takes,
It's been an hour and a half.
everybody takes things away. Like, I think anybody can get value from any of the stuff because it applies anywhere in life. But some speaker that we what are you doing? You're distracting
Swapping
me.
that away.
But anybody who I heard this on one of the speakers at one of the events, but it says surround yourself, with 5 people that you want to be like. Basically, that goes, to show you how that is true. Go back to, what I said earlier about most kids. If you have parents that are dentists, there's a good chance you're going to grow up and be a dentist. If so because that's your direct surroundings. But if you want to grow a big Scentsy business, find people who are like-minded and put the work in. That's do what they tell you to do, because they obviously got there somehow. Like I guarantee you could take 5 people that, where you want to be, and they all got there in a similar fashion. So find people that is where you want to be, and do the things they tell you to do, and put the work in, and it'll come. I mean, that's
It's literally so simple.
It is so simple. It sounds so complicated, but I mean, let's just use investments like day trading or whatever. If you had 5 people in your pocket that was very successful day traders, and you done all the things that they do, you're going to make money like that. If they're making money on a daily basis and you do the exact same things they do, invest in the exact same things they invest in, and everything, then you have no choice. It's not rocket science. You're not going to do the same things all 5 of them are doing and not have the same outcome. Like, you're just not. It doesn't work like that. So put the work in and do it.
Watch what your leaders are doing. I mean, that's what he's saying is what I did. When I joined, I was clueless, completely clueless. I YouTubed and I found people who were successful, and I literally did what they were doing. Like, if they posted something, I did that too. If they went live, I did that too. If they told me to have 8 parties a month, I found a way to find enough people to book 8 parties a month. I almost said $8 a month. 8 parties a month. If they told me to recruit 2 people a month, I found a way to recruit 2 people a month. So
yeah, don't look at it. Don't find the problems in it. Find the solutions and do it. So, because
it's not nobody wants to join. It's you're not asking enough people to join. It's always you. It's not them. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Mm-mm.
I feel like we covered everything that I had in my brain that I wanted to say. So, but yeah, it was good. It was long. I knew it would be like an hour and a half, but thank y'all for being here. I hope y'all got some value out of it. If you would please comment and let us know your biggest takeaway. I want to hear that. And or like what was most valuable to you. And then if you're on YouTube, you can comment as well and do the same thing. But I'm gonna have this uploaded to YouTube. And yeah, thanks for being here with us. Thanks for being here for an hour and a half if you're still here. But we love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Maybe I can get him on here again. Bye y'all.